Well, hello, everybody. My name is Roy Heatherly. I am President and CEO of the Monroe Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to Small Business Stories. As always, I'm joined by my good friend Quentin Durr, Origin Bank, and Louisiana Catalyst, and we're partnering with Louisiana Catalyst to bring you this episode. Today, we have a very special guest, Hunter McFadden, owner, CEO, and just the guy that does it all, along with Greg Pritchard at Green Qube. Welcome, Hunter.
Hey, Roy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well,
Quentin?
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So, Green Qube has been in Monroe for how many years?
Well, Green Qube started really as a company called TranspareNet back in 2005.
Okay.
So started as a hosting company doing hosted applications and IT support for local businesses.
So you and Greg Pritchard, are partners in this, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So how did you and Greg tie up and meet together?
That is a pretty interesting story. We before I met Greg, I think he was wrapping up his college career, and went over to a client's office, and he was working on their firewall that I had sold them, and the client looked at us both and said, "Hey, y'all need a partner." And we walked out in the parking lot, decided to go get some coffee, and shook hands, and we've been partnered up ever since.
That is fantastic. Now, you're from the area?
Yes.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
Washita Parish.
Okay. And then Greg went to Neville.
Yeah, that other one.
So Green Qube is a unique name.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about Green Qube.
So did Green Qube basically as it was supposed to be a wholesale solutions provider for cloud services.
Okay.
And then our other company, our IT company, TranspareNet, formed into TNet Systems, but it resold Green Qube. Green Qube's name came from just doing a brainstorming session with a local guy here in town, and we were drinking coffee. I do a lot of business over coffee. So we were drinking coffee, and we were just coming up with different names and spitballing stuff. And the whole purpose behind Green Qube was to make an office more efficient, and they delivered enterprise class services to the small business and make them, the efficiency parts went in there. So that's where the green came from.
Right,
all right,
right.
We're efficient, we're green. It was a big thing back in 2008, 2009 when we named the company. And Qube came from cubicle.
Gotcha.
So Green Cubicle,
I
sorting
like
to
that.
Green Qube.
Awesome. So tell us about some of the services that you offer today.
So today we offer turnkey IT solutions, predominantly based in our cloud environment that's running out of Dallas and Atlanta. We own our own server equipment, our own server farms, and we deliver hosted desktops as a service, predominantly with all the applications and backends to that. That includes disaster recovery, cybersecurity, all wrapped into one small monthly fee per user.
Okay.
So what size? I'm gonna get you to dumb it down for me because this is where I struggle with IT stuff.
Yeah.
Just to be honest. So like, what size business would use y'all? And is that for? I'm trying to think. I guess my only use is that I think like I work at Origin and we have a desktop that I can log into. Is that basically the service?
Yeah, but it's a desktop as a service. So the desktop itself is not the desktop you're working on,
Right.
but it's actually running in the cloud.
Right.
So you predominantly have a thin client, or we turn your
Yep.
PC into a thin client, and then the desktop resources are again on the back end
Okay.
in our cloud environment. And as far as business size, we service anywhere between 5 users, and our largest customer is close to 2,000 users.
I gotcha. So I'm trying to think use case also to help me wrap my mind around it. So like basically, so we get to a point where you want multiple people working off of the same cloud, so to speak, right? So it's more of a network.
Pretty much, you want to basically secure access from anywhere.
Okay.
So a lot of this remote work from home,
Right.
or wherever, that really kicked into gear for us, and that's because we were doing that since 2005. All the technology we did was, hey, you can go work anywhere you want to, and you can do so securely. So when COVID hit and everybody went home, we actually got a boost in our business, but we still do this. It's basically the same cookie cutter that we've put in place, but we put all the security wrappers around it.
Okay.
So what is Citrix?
Citrix is just one of our partners.
Okay.
So Citrix is a solution, one of the solution pieces that we use. And they basically help us deliver that desktop or that application to the end user. So they're the brokering or the delivery mechanism to that.
Yeah, it's a great service. So like, it don't matter where, it's allowed me to be anywhere and everywhere. Because no matter where I'm at, I have my laptop, and I literally, as long as I have internet, I can get onto the bank system, look at what I need to, even if I'm on the side of the highway, and I can Wi-Fi hotspot, so it's definitely changed the way that I do business.
Yeah, and Citrix is probably one of the best protocols for doing that. They pioneered the industry back in 1996, 97 or something like that, and then basically Microsoft took that back in house, and that's what's the remote desktop protocol now. But Citrix still layers on top of it with a much better protocol, much more secure, to me, it's much more efficient on the bandwidth. So you can use a lot lower bandwidth connection and have a much greater experience.
Right.
So I think I'm right in this number. 14 employees?
12.
12. Okay.
But close.
I was close. And you're in 3 states?
We employ people out of 3 different states. Actually, yeah.
In
Louisiana, Florida, and Georgia.
Okay. And your customer base is more than 3 states, or is it?
Predominantly in the Gulf South, but really coast to coast and Hawaii.
See, that's pretty cool. I think people, a lot of times people don't think of Monroe as a technology hub, but you really are. I mean, because of people like you, and you're servicing people all over the country, which I think is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
Now, tell us your background, though. How did you get into, you mentioned that you had put a firewall up and Greg came in and you guys met over coffee and formed, Green Qube. But tell us your background on how you got to that point.
Well, growing up, going to Washita Junior, Washita Parish High School, grew up out on Rolling Road. My dad taught himself how to program computers back in the 80s. So he gave me my first computer, which was an Apple IIe, and I proceeded to take it apart. And then I figured out, I was like, you know what? I better put this thing back together and hopefully it works before I get my butt torn up. So I put it back together and it worked, thank goodness. And that's kind of where I got the bug, so to speak.
And you're a veteran.
I'm a veteran.
How long were you in the service?
I was in active duty for 3 years and the National Guard for another 5.
Okay. Did you do any technology in the service?
Not really. I mean, what I did was fire direction control for the multiple launch rocket system, which really is a glorified name for a computer operator.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that kept the flame going for you?
No, see, I got in the Army to get out of the house. and that, that MOS was basically the shortest term that I could get that didn't require me to be in infantry.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I was like, okay, I want to get in and get out of the house. And I was actually going to go into aerospace engineering. Okay. Is what I was going to do. I'd put in 1 year at NLU, ULM now. Right. And then went in the Army. And while I was there, the aerospace engineering field took a tank. So I came back not really knowing what I was going to do. Finished out my degree in physics. And I was so bad for the university that when I graduated in 98, they said, okay, that's the last physics major we're
killed the program.
Yeah, they killed the program. It's like, that's the last person going to graduate that. And it was so bad, we got to change the name and the mascot. So
that's tough.
That's all on you, right?
Yeah, it's all on me. It's all on me. So it said,
burden.
if you don't like the new name, it's my fault. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. And so you got out with a physics degree, and then what happened?
I went to work for Glenwood Regional Medical Center in their IT department.
Okay.
First project I did there was putting Wi-Fi up and getting prepared for Y2K.
Oh, were you even born yet?
Oh, yeah. I was in 2000. I was sophomore in high school, waiting for the world to end.
I was down at the News Star, and everybody was on call. On New Year's Eve, we all worked, and we waited and waited and waited for that 12:01 to see everything crash,
Right.
and nothing did.
Nothing crashed, but we did a lot of work up to that point to make sure that the date would roll over properly. And there was a lot of system upgrades that we did. In fact, I think Linwood bought a whole new system and had to put that in place. And that was actually my first foray in Citrix, because we had to change out how transcriptionists were dialing in. And they had a lot of echo and stuff like that when they typed. In other words, they could out-type the display being presented back. And Citrix was actually my first foray in Citrix, and putting that in to solve that problem.
So, and I told Greg on the phone, Greg, you guys had a minor emergency, so Greg's taking care of some issues with a client right now, so he would have been with us, and we can hear his story at another time. So, what gave you the entrepreneurial spirit to branch off onto your own?
Basically, seeing my dad work he was working for himself when he taught himself how to program computers. He got it. Basically, he was an avionics engineer. We lived over in Saudi Arabia for a year. He lived over there another year, saved up his money, and then taught himself how to program computers, bought the computers and all that. And just seeing the dedication that he put in, the rewards that he got out of owning his own business, calling his own shots, working for himself, kind of gave me the initial seed. And then I was introduced to former Secretary of Commerce for the state of Louisiana, Ben James from Ruston. Got an opportunity to be mentored by him for a while. And one of the things he told me is that you'll either work for your own dreams or work for somebody else's. Take your pick.
Wow.
Simply put.
Yeah.
So,
and you chose.
I chose.
And good decision?
Absolutely.
So tell us why, if you're sitting around a table, why should someone choose Green Qube versus the other IT and technology companies out there?
Well, I don't know how we stack up with the other ones, to be honest with you. I mean, I know some of the guys that work for them. I know some of the owners. They're good guys and all that. But as far as, who's our ideal customer? Somebody that we can serve, that we can relate to, be friends with, go shoot some golf with, go to take to a cup of coffee, right? But, ideally they have, they have technology needs that we can serve with, and that revolves around doing remote work in the cloud. Do you want to work in the cloud? That's kind of where we're at, because that's probably 80% of our customer base is in our cloud environment, because we secure them. It's cookie cutter. They know what they're getting, and they know that we're taking care of it. Again, the whole idea of what we started was being able to deliver enterprise class solutions to the small and medium-sized businesses. And so when you look at that, the only way to do that was to do it at scale, and we control the environment, because a lot of small businesses don't have the funding necessary to put in enterprise solutions.
So, and Quentin, I seem to be dominating all the questions.
No, you're good.
So last year, you were one of our sponsors for the Cybersecurity Summit that we're having this year. You're the presenting sponsor. You're the guys, and you talked about cybersecurity. Talk to our listeners a little bit more about how critical that piece of your business is right now.
I think it's critical to everybody's business. It's not just critical to mine. We just happen to be able to serve you with solutions that help you secure your data information, your employees in reality, because a lot of the attacks are coming directly at the employee, not necessarily at the computer. So you're getting a lot of phishing emails, or you're getting, it could be that your Facebook account gets hacked. And that could lead to coming in, your business's door. So a lot of that, you're getting a lot of people getting attacked on as a individual, that then bleeds over into the business getting attacked. And we help mitigate that, protect that, hopefully educate people on how to see those attacks coming, because that's where it starts.
So do you think as a whole, our business community appreciates the danger of cybersecurity, or do they? A lot of times well, I've got, I bought this package and I just threw it on my computer, so I'm safe.
I think there's some of that, and I also think that, with my military background, I've got this certain mindset. It's like it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
And are you taking the proper procedures to mitigate that? And we call it preventive checks, maintenance services, PMCS in the military. So are you doing that in your environment today? Are you doing the preventive maintenance checks and services? And are you doing everything that you can do? Because a lot of it now is not just being preventative, but being proactive.
Yeah, I'll make the audacious statement and say we are not prepared.
Right.
And I say that
No, I
from
agree.
the banking standpoint of how many fraudulent things that we come across and stop just on our end, but it all led from someone's email address that got hacked to we'll get an email, hey, I had a closing, real story, got the HUD from the client, here, go ahead and pay this for this closing. It was a cash sale. And we just happened to check and said, this looks funny, so we called the attorney, and they had intercepted the closing, replaced the HUD with new funding information, and we were about to wire the money out to some place, and we caught it, but our client didn't. And
Wow.
if we would have faxed that would have been the negligent on the client, and the client would have been out $120,000.
Wow.
We see that all the time. So our businesses still think they're too small to be touched, and that's a false.
Right now, there's nothing too small.
No.
They'll get you for $1,000 just as fast as they'll get you for 10. Now they like a 10 better than the 1,000.
Yeah, they can get away with it quicker.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of times that's, I guess a lot of small business people have to do everything themselves. And so talk to us a little bit about, to that person, to the small business that they don't think they can, they think you're too big for them. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, one, we're not too big for anybody because we want to help you grow. We're in business to help you succeed. But two, a lot of people take cybersecurity as a security against criminal activity. And what people are used to is like, okay, well, I've got a retail establishment. The only criminal activity I've got to be aware of is the guy trying to break in the door. Okay. Well, that's an okay mindset. That's a starting point, but we've got to mature past that. And I like taking people to what I consider a wartime or a war footprint as opposed to just security.
Right.
Because when you look at protecting more than just your data or more than just your front door, and realize that a lot of these cyber attacks are from a war footing, not necessarily a criminal activity. Yes, they're stealing from you, they're doing things like that, but it's malicious attacks. It's to attack your business and take you out of business. And they don't care.
No, not at all. We always say at least even consider making sure that you have on your insurance, make sure that you have that, some type of coverage on that, just in case a worst case scenario, they get through the layers of protection. At least you have some type of coverage on the back end to have, cyber coverage.
No, you absolutely have to have the cyber liability insurance. And have you looked at the questionnaires that are coming out now?
It's probably asking, do you have you?
Do you have Green Qube as your partner? Check it out.
That will affect your premium.
We can help you reduce your premium. No, I'm kidding. But no, the things that we put in place for you can do that.
Absolutely.
But they're starting to ask more stringent questions. They're starting to get deeper and broader as far as, do you have MFA? Do you have, are you using SIEM and SOAR? And if you don't know what those are, feel free to give your tech support a call and they'll help you do that. But do you have, the enhanced detection and response? Are you managing? Is it managed for you? So all these questions are starting to come around, and a lot of small businesses are going, what is SIM and SOAR? What is that?
Right.
And they're like, I don't know. Yes. If you answer yes and it's really a no, then you just lied on your application.
They will reject that payment.
Yes, they will.
So, get your crystal ball out. Where do you see Green Qube 5 years from now?
5 years from now, still around.
That's a good thing.
No, still growing in this community, hiring people in this community to serve clients outside of this community, not just within, but outside of this community, and growing pretty steadily.
You grew up here. Greg grew up here.
Yes.
But why do you guys stay here? Why do you like Monroe? What's your optimism on Monroe?
Just like it. I mean, yeah, there's, I think, you know, I have a very critical mind. So I was like, I want to go find the problems, right? And then look for the solutions. So I can get negative real quick. But the thing is that when I look at our community, even though I can pinpoint out, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, that's wrong, I look for what's right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's right here? Roy, you coming on board at the chamber has been right. You know, it's been a good thing.
Well, thank you both.
You know, Mayor Ellis has done a phenomenal job. I'm not saying that the previous mayor didn't, but you can see the strides that Mayor Ellis is making in the community. You can see, you know, West Monroe's growing. You can see the opportunity here in Washington Parish and in North Louisiana if you just look for it.
Right.
And you can almost feel it. You see it unfolding, but you can almost feel that energy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every negative feels like we can tackle it.
Yeah.
That's different when you're in a position you know you can't win. A lot of these issues feel like we can overcome them. So that's where the hope and optimism stays. It's like, okay, we can deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, and then layer on all the extra positives and the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, let's suit up.
Well, first off, thank you for supporting the chamber. Thank you for supporting the community and hiring people and doing all that great stuff. Thank you for sponsoring the Cybersecurity and Technology Summit. Thank you for just being you. And I promised Greg we'd have him back on, but we really appreciate you taking time to come in today and tell us a little bit more about Green Qube, because people will see that name. And I'm glad to know now how you came up with the name. And I knew who you were, but a lot of people will see that name, and we need to get that word out of all the great work that you're doing, so Green Qube becomes more of a household name.
We definitely appreciate you having us on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Quentin, anything?
Nope. Appreciate all you do, and glad for clarity. At least I walked away now knowing a lot more. I'll probably because the remote thing is something we've been pressing on about the opportunities to grow the remote jobs here. And so you'll be getting a phone call.
So we've been talking with Hunter McFadden with Green Qube. Hunter, thank you for being here, and that's it for Small Business Stories.